Hello friends, I'm backing up a bit here to share about the 2024 garden so far. My intent is to start documenting more of my gardening journey this year, just for my own records, but also in the hopes that it might inspire one or two people out there to start growing some of their own food or medicine. Not much to do in January and February in my climate, which is now 7B, except enjoy the things that we put away from the garden last year. And really, the whole gardening season begins right there at that table with planning. That is the way I'm able to have vegetables for 3 seasons out of the garden. I think some of those Post-it colors influenced some of the sketches I was doing in February just to get back into my creative practice too. And then in February, as early as February, I start planting seeds inside under grow lights, and that has been just a game changer for me. We also replaced an old raised bed with a new one this year, twice the size, and started filling that with debris in February and January. If you're new here, welcome. I'm Haley Carla, and I've been sharing about creative practice online for over a decade, but my big picture passion really is holistic creative living and how the creative process can inform every aspect of our lives. With March, things really start to bloom and green up here where we live in the mountains, and daffodils were blooming. This was inspiring my practice. We're putting more soil in the beds. This is purple dead nettle. It's a medicine, an edible. Forsythia was blooming all around where we live. And it was time to start watching the soil temperature to put out one of my favorite things to grow, which is potatoes. I started my own potato slips this year from store-bought potatoes. It went wonderfully. I'll update about the harvest here. And I also went ahead and started my sweet potato slips on my own this year, and those have done amazing so far, and they're about to go in the ground too. Still a bit cool in March. Some things have to be potted up inside, and what had been my planting table was now my seedling table. And I had gone ahead and left some cabbages and things in the ground over winter to bloom early for pollinators. And then my garlic was coming up and doing much better than it had the year before. And then finally April arrives, and oh, how I love her. And she can also be a little bit tricky with the garden because the days can be so warm and yet the nights can still freeze. Our average last frost date is mid-April. But here you can see that we were actually eating fresh greens and things that I'd already put into the ground the month before, or the green stalk in this case. Things had to be covered at night many times in March and the end of April in order to get some of those brassicas and things to get a good start. And here I thought I'd show a little hack that I came up with to cover up those green stalks on the nights that would dip into the low 30s and what have you to protect those greens. You can buy the covers from Greenstock, but they're a little bit pricey for our budget. And so I came up with a fix with some dollar store wreaths and some row covers and some old linens that we had around, and it worked beautifully to protect our plants. I have to confess, I was getting really antsy in April to get the garden going, and getting things out there a little bit too soon was quite a temptation. But luckily, I had to be filming for some workshops coming up, and so that took up a great deal of my time too, and helped me keep my hands out of the garden just enough. Our strawberries overwintered just fine in this kiddie pool. It surprised me, and I went ahead and put some onions around them to deter pests. And then here, you'll see me with my potatoes again. Potatoes grow fast, and they're so fun. You don't really know what's going on under the soil, but you do need to hill them up. If you do them in ground, that's really the traditional way of doing it. I grow mine in grow bags, which has worked beautifully, and I use straw up at the top as a mulch. And I kind of do this mix of hilling up where I leave a little bit of straw and put in some more fresh soil as the greenery starts to grow up, and I roll the bags up as I go and as they grow, and until the bag is pretty much full with soil and just some light straw. And that's what I'm doing here on this day, is adding a little bit more soil to the bags, rolling up some of the edges because some of the greenery is starting to come through, and they'll just keep making more soil space then for the tubers to grow. Well, here you see the beginning of April. Garlic continues to grow. Broccoli is growing along beautifully as well. It's a nice cold weather crop. Tomatoes and peppers are growing inside. Here's those sweet potato slips I started inside. It took no time at all to get that going. I went ahead and grabbed a slightly larger outdoor greenhouse that I could step into for my seedlings. And here you see the lettuce green stalk. I moved it over by the kitchen door, and I love it there because we can just step outside and grab salad for dinner or lunch. Also spent some time just assessing our stake and trellis needs, putting a few of those up, purchasing a few more things, and what have you. So lots of maintenance sort of things in April, getting ready for some of these plantings that will really get the summer garden going. And so you can see here we got our tomatoes planted in the last week of April, I believe. We finally put them out. The weather seemed good for that. And we do a mix. I do some in containers, and then I do some in the raised beds. And so this year I do a dense planting of them. I do indeterminates and determinants in the raised bed, and I do both in pots as well. And we've had great luck with those the past few years. This shot was just a couple weeks ago, and as I look at it now, it blows me away how much this has grown in since then. I'll be updating with some more recent video and pictures soon. I also like to experiment with the gardening. I'm trying things in different areas of our yards, different microclimates, as they say. So in the back here, I had some lettuce growing in pots. It gets less afternoon shade than some of the front areas of our garden. So I kind of have 3 areas that I'm working with this year, and then of course my green stalks, and we'll see how things go. So this is what I documented through the end of April. I'll be doing these updates more frequently. If you're a gardener or an artist who gardens and have tips, advice, questions, hit them up in the comments, and I'd love to connect with you.